जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशुमार भक्तिवेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्य प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशुमार भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशुमार श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशुमार भक्तिसिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगौर्य गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भद्रदास रघुनाथ शार गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर प्रसाद वृंद की जय। नामचय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणीति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनं हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रयेष्वद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां शरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 Hare Hare. Hari Bol, everybody. Dandavat Pranams, Rohit Radhakrishnan ji, Madhavi Didi, and Sudevi Didi. Pranams to all of you. All right, so we read up to verse 34 yesterday. I'm going to just start by reading the translations to all these verses, and then we can continue. Lord Krishna's description of the Varṇāśrama system. Shri Uddhava said, "My dear Lord, you have described the principles of devotional service that are performed by the followers of the Varṇāśrama system, as well as those who lead unregulated lives. O lotus-eyed Lord, kindly tell me how people can attain your loving service by the execution of their prescribed duties." Okay, sorry. O mighty armed one, my dear Lord, previously, as Lord Hamsa, you spoke to Lord Brahma about the religious principles that bring supreme happiness to the follower. My dear Madhav, much time has now passed, so now that what you have previously instructed will soon be forgotten. O subduer of the enemy, O Lord Achyuta, you are the sole protector of religious principles. My dear Lord Madhusudan, you are the actual propounder of religious principles. When you return to your own abode, who will continue to propagate the true understanding of religious principles? My dear Lord, as the perfect knower of religious principles, please describe to me the path of devotional service, and tell me the qualifications of one who is to traverse this path. Shri Shukadeva Gosvāmī said, Shri Uddhava, the foremost of devotees, thus inquired from the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, was pleased to hear the words of his devotee, and for the benefit of everyone, he described eternal religious principles. The Supreme Lord said, My dear Uddhava, your question is glorious, because it is in accordance with religious principles, and thus leads the followers of Varṇāśrama Dharma to life's ultimate goal, pure devotional service. Now listen attentively as I talk about eternal religious principles. In the beginning, in Satyuga, there was only one social class, known as Hamsa, to which all human beings belonged. In that age, human beings engaged in unalloyed devotional service right from their birth, and thus learned scholars call this first age Krita Yuga. In Satyuga, the undivided Veda is expressed by the syllable Om, and I am manifest as the four-legged bull of religion. The pious inhabitants of that age are fixed in austerity, and with their mind and senses fully under control, they meditate on my transcendental form as Hamsa. O greatly fortunate one! At the beginning of Treta Yuga, Vedic knowledge was manifested from my heart, which is the shelter of the life air. The Vedas appeared in three divisions, the Rig, Sama, and Yaju. From the three Vedas, I manifested three kinds of sacrifice. In Treta Yuga, the four Varnas, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, along with their occupational duties and characteristics, appeared from the mouth, arms, thigh, and legs of the universal form of the Lord, respectively. The married order of life, the Grihastha ashram, appeared from the loins of my universal form, and the celibate students, the Brahmacharya ashram, appeared from my heart. The forest-dwelling retired order of life, the Vanaprastha ashram, appeared from my chest, and the renounced order of life, the Sannyasa ashram, appeared from my head. Oh, and, one second. Just and Dandavat Pranams, Indira Mataji and Seshwari Mataji, who will be watching later. Peacefulness, control of the senses, austerity, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, devotion to me, compassion, and truthfulness are the natural qualities of brahmanas. Prowess, bodily strength, patience, heroism, tolerance, magnanimity, enthusiasm, steadiness, devotion to the brahmanas, and leadership are the natural qualities of the kshatriyas. Faith in Vedic culture, an inclination to give charity, freedom from pride, service to the brahmanas, and a perpetual desire to accumulate more and more money are the natural qualities of the Vaishyas. Money, money, money. I love the descriptions of Shudras. I don't know. I like every time there's a description of the Shudra, I'm like, yeah. It sounds so much more closer to Vaishnavism than the other ones when there's descriptions of them. Service without duplicity to the brahmanas. Service without duplicity to the brahmanas, cows, demigods, and other worshipable personalities, and satisfaction with whatever is obtained by such service are the natural qualities of the Shudras. Doesn't that sound so Vaishnav-like? Anyways. Lack of cleanliness, dishonesty, thievery, very little faith in God, unnecessary quarrel, lust, anger, and great hankering are the nature of the lowest among men who are outside the Varṇāśrama system. Nonviolence, truthfulness, honesty, desire for the happiness and welfare of all others, and freedom from lust, anger, and greed constitute the duties for all members of society. The Vaishyas seemed a bit greedy, though. I wonder if that one applies to them. The twice-born member of the Varṇāśrama society should undergo the purificatory rituals, beginning with the Garbhadhan. Let me reread this. The twice-born member of the Varṇāśrama society should undergo the purificatory rituals, beginning with the Garbhadhan and culminating in the sacred thread initiation ceremony. He should then reside in the ashram of the spiritual master while practicing self-control and studying Vedic literature. A brahmachari should have matted hair, and he should wear a belt of kusha grass and deer-skin garments. He should carry a staff and a water pot, and he should be decorated with the aksha beads and sacred thread. He should be inclined to austerity, and thus never accept an opulent sitting place. He should not take very good care of his teeth, nor should he be concerned about his clothes. Well, I mean, I'd imagine he wouldn't be that concerned with his clothes if he's only wearing deerskin. And he's like, oh, this is the most stylish deerskin today. Okay. A brahmachari should remain silent while bathing, eating, performing fire sacrifices, chanting mantras, and passing stool and urine. Okay, I won't talk when I pass stool and urine. He should not cut his nails and hair, including the armpit and pubic hair. While observing the vow of celibate brahmachari life, one should never pass semen. If he passes semen involuntarily, the brahmachari should immediately bathe, control his breath by the practice of pranayam, and chant the Gayatri mantra. With a purified mind and fixed attention, the brahmachari should worship the fire god, the sun, acharya, cows, brahmanas, guru, elderly respectable persons, and demigods at sunrise and at sunset, remaining silent while quietly chanting the appropriate mantras. One should know that, here we come to the famous verse, Acharya mam vijaniyam navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guru. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Oh, and have you ever, we didn't read this in the commentary here, but have you ever heard the explanation of this Sarva Deva Mayo Guru as relating to, like, who are the topmost devas? That is, you know, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva. And so Guru represents, because Sarva Deva he represents especially these three. And how is that? Because as Brahma, he like creates this, he initiates whatever, like he creates this desire for performing bhakti. As Vishnu, he maintains our spiritual practices, like he keeps us steady, like that. Or, I don't know. And then as Shiva, he destroys all of our anarthas. And so in that way, Guru is Sarva Devamai. I heard some kind of explanation like that once, but every morning and evening, the brahmachari should bring whatever food and other things he has received by begging door to door. Sorry, he should bring all those things that he's received begging door to door and offer them to his spiritual master. Thereafter, with a controlled mind, he should accept whatever is allotted to him by his spiritual master. One should engage as the humble servant of the acharya. When the spiritual master goes for a walk, the student should submissively follow him. When the spiritual master rests, the disciple should also rest, lying down nearby, always ready to render any required service. When the spiritual master sits down, the disciple should stand nearby with folded hands, ready to execute his order. I really like that verse. Until his dedication is completed, a brahmachari should remain at the Gurukul, faithfully engaging in the service of the spiritual master while maintaining his vow of celibacy. If a brahmachari wishes to transfer himself to Maharlok and from there to Brahmalok, he should very thoroughly study the Vedas under the direction of the spiritual master while strictly observing the vow of celibacy. Being enlightened with Vedic knowledge as a result of service to the spiritual master, and being freed from all sins and the vision of duality, one should worship me as the Supersoul, as I appear within fire, the spiritual master, one's own self, and all living entities. Except householders, the members of the other spiritual orders, that's sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and brahmacharis, should never associate with women by glancing, touching, conversing, joking, or playing. Neither should they associate with any living entity who is engaged in sexual activities. Yes, a generator, operator, destroyer. Yes. Hare Krishna, Gopikant Prabhu, Radhe Radhe. All right, so that's where we read up to yesterday, and now we'll continue on from here. Shocham achmanam snanam. Wait, how does this verse go? Okay, yeah, whatever. Socham achmanam snanam sandhyor pastir mamarchanam tirtha seva japosprishya bhaksya sambhashya varjanam sarvashrama prayuktoyam niyama kulanandana madbhava sarvabhuteshu manovakaya samyama. Cleanliness, performing achman, bathing, performing the religious duties prescribed for the morning, noon, and evening, worshipping me, going to holy places of pilgrimage, avoiding those things that are forbidden, and cultivating the understanding that I am situated as a supersoul within all living entities. These practices should be observed by everyone with body, mind, and speech. Evam brihad vrata dharo brahmanognir iva jvalan mad bhaktasti vratapasa dagda karma shayo mala. A brahmachari who strictly observes the vow of celibacy becomes as effulgent and powerful as fire. By the strength of his severe austerities, he burns to ashes the propensity to perform material activities. Becoming freed from all material desires, he becomes situated in pure devotional service. This is a great verse. I should memorize this one. Sārārtha-darśinī commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. This verse explains how one who observes strict celibacy becomes free from material desires. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Prabhupāda. As he makes advancement in spiritual life, a devotee of the Lord gradually becomes free from material desires, and thus naturally becomes austere and disinterested in mundane enjoyment. As a devotee's propensity for serving Krishna progressively increases, his desire for enjoying or rejecting the fruits of karma is destroyed. Thus, the moon rays of the inclination for the Lord's service illuminates the sky of the devotee's heart. Atanantaram avekshan yataje gyasitagama gurave dakshinam dattva snayar gurvanumodita. A brahmachari who desires to enter the grihastha ashram after completing his Vedic education should offer dakshina to his spiritual master, take permission from him, and then return home after completing the abhyangasnana or sacred bath. Abhyangasnana. Okay. Sārārtha-darśinī. The Lord herein explains how a brahmachari who wants to become a grihastha should return home. After duly completing his study of the Vedas at the Gurukul, a brahmachari who wants to enter householder life should return home after offering remuneration to his spiritual master and taking his permission, and then performing the prescribed ritualistic bath. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Haribol Shasharmaji. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. This verse describes the procedure for one who desires to return home and enter the household order of life after finishing his education at the Gurukul. One who has not perfectly assimilated the instructions of the spiritual master is attracted to the household order of life, which is to be accepted according to the regulations prescribed by the scriptures. If one is not careful to observe the prescribed rules and regulations while in householder life, he certainly becomes fallen. Griham vanam vupavishet pravrajed vadvijottama ashramad ashramam gacchen nanyatamat parascharet. If a brahmachari wants to fulfill his material desires, he should accept the grihastha ashram. If a brahmana's only desire is to advance on the path of spiritual realization, he should accept either the vanaprastha ashram or sannyas ashram. One who is not surrendered to me should move progressively from one ashram to another, however, and not act otherwise. This is an important instruction. One who is not surrendered to me should move progressively from one ashram to another, however, and not act otherwise. Sārārtha-darśinī. According to one's level of advancement, one should situate himself in one of the 4 ashrams. Generally, one is advised to advance from one ashram to another, from the brahmacharya ashram to the grihastha ashram, and then to the vanaprastha ashram, and finally the sannyasa ashram. In this verse, it is indicated that those who are not surrendered devotees of the Lord must rigidly observe the regulations governing one's authorized social status. Here, however, it is recommended that a purified Brahman take the renounced order of life, sannyas. If, however, one performs illicit activities on the strength of being transcendental to Vedic social divisions, one is revealed to be a materialistic neophyte and not an advanced devotee of the Lord. One second. Griharti sadrishim bharyam udvaher ajugupsitam yaviyasim tuvayasa yamsa varnam anukramat. One who desires to enter the Grihastha ashram should marry a girl of his own varna, who is beyond reproach and who is younger in age. Thereafter, if one wants more wives, they should be accepted from one of the lower varnas. Sārārtha-darśinī. One who desires to marry should select a girl from his own caste. A Brahmin can marry girls of all the 4 varnas. A Kshatriya can marry girls from 3 varnas. A Vaishya can marry girls from 2 varnas, and a Shudra can only marry a girl of his own varna. This is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Ejyadhyayana danani sarvesham cha dvijanmanam pratigrahodhyapanam cha brahmanasya vayajanam. Those who belong to the 3 twice-born social orders should perform sacrifice, study the Vedas, and give charity. However, only Brahmanas can accept charity, teach the Vedas, and perform sacrifices on behalf of others. Sārārtha-darśinī. Every member of the 3 higher varnas should worship the Supreme Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. However, acceptance of charity, teaching the Vedas, and acting as a priest on another's behalf can be done only by Brahmanas. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Those who are twice born, who have undergone the purificatory procedures, must worship the Supreme Lord, study the Vedic literature, and give charity. Among the twice born, only the Brahmanas are eligible to accept charity, conduct Vedic sacrifices on behalf of others, and teach Vedic literature. Without the guidance of qualified Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas will not be able to properly carry out their duties, nor will they understand the Vedic literature, properly perform sacrifices, or give in charity to deserving persons. All of these activities require the guidance of those who are in perfect knowledge of the truth. When society works under the direction of qualified Brahmanas, peace and prosperity prevail, and not otherwise. Pratigraham manyamanas tapastejo yasho nudam anyabhyam eva jiveta shilarva doshadriktayo. A Brahmana who considers that accepting charity from others will destroy his austerity, spiritual prowess, and fame should maintain himself by teaching Vedic knowledge and engaging as a sacrificial priest. If he considers these 2 activities to also be faulty, then he should maintain himself by collecting grains from the agricultural fields. Sārārtha-darśinī. If a Brahmin finds fault in the occupations of a teacher of Vedic knowledge and a sacrificial priest, then he should collect grains that are found scattered in the agricultural fields. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. A Brahmin who is reluctant to accept charity, thinking that such an act weakens his austerity, destroys his spiritual influence, and gives him a bad... A Brahmin who is reluctant to accept charity, thinking that such an act weakens his austerity, destroys his spiritual influence, and gives him a bad reputation, should simply depend upon the Lord's mercy and not make a great endeavor to earn wealth. A Brahmana should simply depend upon the mercy of the Lord and not endeavor unnecessarily for his family maintenance. The Lord has promised that he will maintain his devotee, and one who is sincere does not doubt the words of the Lord. 42. Brahmanasya hi deho yam kshudra kamaya nishyate kritraya tapase cheha pretyananta sukhaya cha. this Gauḍīya Bhāṣya thing, it kind of goes against what I was encouraging my friends. Anyways, whatever. It's a different thing. The body of a Brahmana is not meant for enjoying insignificant sense gratification. Rather, it is meant for performing austerities in this life so that a Brahmana will enjoy unlimited happiness after death. Sārārtha-darśinī. The question may arise, why should a Brahmin take so much trouble performing austerities? The answer is that the body of a Brahmana is not meant for fulfilling insignificant material desires. It is meant for performing difficult austerities in this life so that he will achieve unlimited happiness in the next life. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. A Brahmana who has realized the transcendental personality of Godhead enjoys boundless spiritual happiness, and so does not take pleasure in the gratification of the senses. Such a devotee does not undergo severe austerities simply for the purpose of deceiving himself. Those who consider that surrendering to the Supreme Lord involves great severe austerity think in that way because they are addicted to selfish acts of sense enjoyment. Being self-interested, they may ultimately engage in severe austerities for the purpose of attaining liberation. Devotees of the Lord, however, on the strength of their engagement in devotional service, reject the pleasures of the senses as being insignificant. It is not the duty of a Brahman to become either a sense enjoyer or a dry ascetic. His training is simply meant for him to understand that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. If a Brahmana carefully contemplates the meaning of the following 3 verses, he can surely come to the conclusion that human life is meant for engaging oneself in the devotional service of the Lord, and not for pursuing insignificant sense gratification. Naham vande tava charanayor dvandvam adandahe. Naham vande tava charanayor. Oh. Oops, it's the wrong meter. Naham vande tava charanayor dvandvam advandvaheto. Kumbi pakam gurum api harenarakam napanetum. Ramya Rama mridu tanulata nandane napirantum. Bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantam. Oops. I figured out the meter on the last line. Anyways. O Lord Hari, it is not to be saved from O Lord Hari, it is not to be saved from the dualities of material existence or the grim tribulations of the Kumbhipaka hell that I pray to your lotus feet. It's not to be saved from the dualities of material existence or the grim tribulations of Kumbhipaka that I pray to your lotus feet. Nor is my purpose to enjoy the soft-skinned, beautiful women who reside in the gardens of heaven. I pray to your lotus feet only so that I may remember you alone in the core of my heart, birth after birth. Beautiful verse. That's from the 4th verse of Mukunda Mala Stotra. Nasta dharme navasu nichaye naiva kamo paphoge yarbhavyam tar bhavatu bhagavan purva karmanurupam etat pratyam mama bahumatam janma janmantarepi Tvat padambo ruha yuga gata nischala bhaktirastu. I have no attraction for performing religious rituals or holding any earthly kingdom. I do not care for sense enjoyments. Let them appear and disappear in accordance with my previous deeds. My only desire is to be fixed in devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord, even though I may continue to take birth here, life after life. That's the Mukunda Mala Stotra, verse 5. Nadhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagarisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatar bhaktir ahaituki tvayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. It's the fourth verse of Shikshashtakam. Hari Bol, Pradyumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. Shiloncha Vrit. Wait, what's the meter for this? Shiloncha Vritya Paritushta Chitto Dharmam Mahantam Virajam Jushana Mayar Pitatma Griha Eva Tishtan Nati Prasakta Samupaiti Shantim. A Brahmana householder should remain satisfied while maintaining himself by collecting rejected grains found in the fields and marketplaces. Keeping himself free of personal desire, he should practice religious principles while fixing his mind on me. In this way, a Brahmana can remain at home, gradually cultivating detachment, and thus advance toward the ultimate goal of life. I don't understand how this is a practical instruction for a Brahmana, though. That he should maintain himself by collecting rejected grains found in marketplaces. Like, when you go to the marketplaces, is there a lot of rejected grains all over? People don't, like, clean up shop and, like... Anyways, that's... Sārārtha-darśinī. The word unchavritti means to collect rejected grains that have been left in the marketplaces and agricultural fields. The phrase dharmam mahantam especially refers to faithfully serving guests. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Śrīla Narottam Das Ṭhākura has said that one should engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, whether one is living at home or residing in the forest. The essence of all the instructions of Shastra is that it is the duty of all the members of the 8 Varnas and ashrams to serve the Supreme Lord while remaining indifferent to material enjoyment. If one utilizes everything in the service of Lord Krishna, then regardless of his position within the Varnashram social system, he must be considered a liberated soul. In this regard, one should carefully consider the verse describing Yukta Vairagya, beginning with Anasaktasya, and the verse describing Falgu Vairagya, beginning with Prapanchikataya. By understanding the purport of these 2 verses, one's pure devotional service will be awakened. Without being enlightened by the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, unrestricted material desires that are fulfilled by engagement in fruitive activities, or on a higher platform, indulgence in mental speculation, will not allow one to favorably cultivate Krishna consciousness. Brahmanas who are attached to ritualistic activities that are meant for enjoying material happiness, or who practice renunciation in the hopes of merging into the impersonal Brahman, invite inauspiciousness to fall upon themselves. In this regard, one should carefully contemplate the purport of these 2 verses. Yadrichaya matkatado jata shraddhastu ya puman na nivirno nati sakto bhakti yogos yasiddhita. It's an important verse. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to talks about me and has faith in the instructions that I have set forth in Bhagavad-gīta, and if one is actually detached from material things and material existence, his dormant for me will be awakened by devotional service. Very important verse. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:28. So we will come to this verse later on. Aradhito yadi haris tapasa tatakim naradhito yadi haris tapasa tatakim antar bahir yadi haris tapasa tatta kim nantar bahir yadi haris tapasa tatta kim. If one is worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of performing extraneous penances? And if one is not worshipping Lord Hari, no such penances will ever save one. If one can understand that Lord Hari is all-pervading within and without, what is the need of performing penances? And if one is not able to understand that Hari is all-pervading, all his penances are useless. That's from the Narad Pancharatra. Samudharanti ye vipram siddhantam atparayanam tan udaryashya nachirad aparbhyo nor ivarnavat. Just as a ship rescues a person who has fallen into the ocean and is drowning, I deliver my devotee Brahman, who may be afflicted with poverty or who endeavors to deliver others from this ocean of birth and death. Sārārtha-darśinī. That's a nice verse though, huh? Okay. When a person gives up the service of the Lord to enjoy a life of sense gratification, he is certainly to be considered fallen. Such a person can still benefit himself if he gives some of his hard-earned wealth for the service of the Lord. Here the example is given of a boat that rescues persons drowning in the ocean. Similarly, the Lord delivers those who are drowning in the ocean of material existence if they render service in this way. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. If, by good fortune, one who has fallen into the ocean of material existence renders service to the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are freed from all material desires, the Lord will deliver him out of his causeless mercy. Simply by rendering service to the spiritual master and other advanced devotees, one surely receives the mercy of the Lord. It is a well-known fact that the Lord is more mercifully inclined toward those who consider themselves devotees of his devotees than those who claim to be his direct devotees. An important point. It is a well-known fact that the Lord is more mercifully inclined toward those who consider themselves devotees of his devotees than those who claim to be his direct devotees. Sarva samudhared raja piteva vyasanat praja atmanam atmana dhiro yatha gaja patir kajan. Just as the king of elephants protects all the other elephants under his shelter and also defends himself, so a king, just like a father, should afford his subjects full protection and also defend himself from all adversities. Sārārtha-darśinī. The duty of a king is described in this verse. Just like a father, a king should protect his subjects from all kinds of danger. Evam vido narapatir vimane narkavarchasa viduye ha shubham kritsnam indrena sahamodate. A king who protects himself and his citizens by removing all sinful activities from his kingdom will certainly enjoy with Indra in celestial airplanes that are as brilliant as the sun. Siddhan vipro vanigvritya panyar eva padam tarit kardagena vapada kranto nashvavritya katanchana. If a brahmana is unable to maintain himself by performing his prescribed duties, he may accept the occupation of a Vaishya and thus save himself from a life of poverty. Interesting. Brahmanas are able to accept the occupation of a Vaishya. If he still faces a difficulty as a Vaishya, he can adopt the occupation of a Kshatriya, but he should never become like a dog by accepting an ordinary man as his master. Sārārtha-darśinī. Hari Bol, Mitra Vinda Didi. Sārārtha-darśinī. Beginning with this verse, the Lord describes what should be done if one experiences difficulty maintaining himself by performing the duties of his Varna. A Brahmana may earn his livelihood by doing business, but he should not sell wine or salt. Why not salt? That's interesting. If in danger, a Brahmana may also adopt the profession of a Kshatriya. A Brahmana is herein recommended to adopt the profession of a merchant rather than that of a Kshatriya. The idea is that selling commodities as a Vaishya is better than killing enemies as a Kshatriya. But it is emphasized that a Brahmana should never earn his livelihood by serving low-class people. This is the opinion of Lord Krishna. So a Brahmana may accept the duties of a Vaishya. Vaishya vritya tu rajanyo jiven mrigayayapadi charedva viprarupena nashva vritya katanchana. A Kshatriya who cannot maintain himself by his normal occupation may act as a Vaishya, maintain himself by hunting, or teach the Vedas to others. But he must never, under any circumstance, undertake the profession of a Shudra. Sārārtha-darśinī. If a Kshatriya is unable to maintain himself by his own profession, he may adopt the profession of a Brahmana by teaching Vedic knowledge. Shudra vrittim bhajed vaishya, Shudra karu katakriyam, Krichran mukto nagarhyena, Vrittim lipseta karmana. A Vaishya who cannot maintain himself may adopt the occupation of a Shudra, and a Shudra who cannot find a master can engage in simple work like making baskets and mats out of straw. However, all members of society who have adopted inferior occupations due to emergency situations must give them up once the difficulties have passed. Sārārtha-darśinī. When the emergency situation that caused one to accept an inferior occupation has passed, one must return to his normal occupational duties. One must never aspire to earn wealth by performing abominable activities. Veda dhyana svada svaha balyanadyar yatodayam devarshi pitri bhutani madrupanyan vaham yajet. According to their means, householders should daily worship the sages by studying the Vedas, the forefathers by offering oblations, the demigods by performing sacrifices, the living entities in general by offering them food, and human beings by offering them water and grains. They should perform the 5 kinds of daily sacrifices while understanding the demigods, sages, forefathers, and indeed all types of living entities to be representations of my various potencies. Sārārtha-darśinī. After explaining what one should do in times of difficulty, the Lord once again describes the duties of a householder. A householder should repay his debt to the sages by studying the Vedas, his debt to the forefathers by offering them oblations, his debt to the demigods by performing sacrifices, his debts to living entities in general by offering them food, his debts to the human beings by offering them food and water. In this way, a householder should repay the 5 kinds of debt. Yadrichayo papanena Shukleno parjitena va dhanena pidayan bhrityan nyayena eva harit kratun. A householder should maintain his dependence by the wealth that has come to him of its own accord, as well as the wealth that he has earned by honest means. He should also utilize his wealth to perform sacrifices and other religious functions. Sārārtha-darśinī. One should earn wealth by engaging in an honest profession, and one should not endeavor too strenuously, knowing that the Lord will supply his necessities of life. One should perform religious activities such as sacrifices without committing violence to other living entities. Kutumbeshu nasajjeta na pramadyet kutumbyapi Vipaschin nashvarang pashyed adrishtam api drishtavat. Although a householder may have many dependents, he should not become attached to them, thinking that they have an intrinsic relation with him. Nor should he become proud, considering himself to be some kind of lord. An intelligent householder should understand that all kinds of material happiness, even that which is available in heaven, is just like the temporary material happiness that he has already experienced. Sārārtha-darśinī. In the next 4 verses, Lord Krishna describes the duties of a detached householder. Even though a householder acts like a little lord, surrounded by his dependents, he should not forget the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. He should know that his dependent family members are temporary, as are the unseen heavenly pleasures and visible pleasures of this world. The purport is that a householder should cultivate a mood of detachment so that he can guide his family members and other dependents back home, back to Godhead, for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. An intelligent person should not invite aversion to the Supreme Lord under the pretext that it is his primary duty to maintain his dependent family members by hook or by crook. Just as the things of this world are temporary manifestations, so is existence in the heavenly planets. According to one's qualities and activities, one is placed within a particular varna or ashram. If there is any difficulty in the execution of one's prescribed profession, one may take up the profession of a lower varna. One should live in society and accept material enjoyment in such a way that one will not cause a disturbance. One should gradually give up attachment for the material enjoyments that is available in this life as well as the next. Putra darapta bandhunam sangamam panta sangamam anudeham vyantyete swapno nidranugo yata. One's society of children, wife, relatives, and friends can be compared to a meeting of travelers at an inn. Upon changing his body, one is separated from all such friends and relatives, just as when one wakes up from a dream, all that was seen is lost. Sārārtha-darśinī. The association of wife, children, relatives, and friends should be considered to be like the meeting of travelers at a resting place. One should cultivate a mood of detachment from everything material by carefully considering how nothing is permanent in this world. All of one's relatives will vanish one day, however affectionate they may be. All objects of this world are temporary, as are the objects one sees in a dream. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. The relationships one has with his wife, children, kinsmen, and friends are temporary, just like the experiences of a dream. While dreaming, one comes in contact with various objects and people, but when he wakes up, all of these vanish. As long as one maintains attachment for such perishable objects, one cannot become steady on the transcendental platform of devotional service, and thus cannot relish the actual flavor of eternal happiness. One who remains attached to the bodily concept of family and friends cannot possibly give up the false egoism of I and mine. Unless a householder worships child Krishna, his attachment for his children will remain strong. Wow, so all grahastas should have a little Gopal. As long as the Lord's pastimes and Madhurya Ras do not become the subject of one's meditation, one will continue to think of his wife as a reservoir of all pleasure. Unless one becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, accepting Lord Krishna as one's only friends, just like Śrīla, one will not be able to give up the hankering for temporary and superficial material relationships. Until one's propensity for rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna is awakened, one will continue to foolishly demand service from others. One who is actually intelligent should understand that there can be no satisfaction for the self on any planet within the material world. Therefore, like a traveler who has become very tired while traveling, one should go back home, back to Godhead. One should go back to Godhead, exhausted with traveling throughout this world. this material existence. Eternal peace is the condition of the faithful servant of Lord Shri Krishna. Oh, it's 8:30 already. How much more is left? Should we finish this tomorrow? Okay, I'm going to just read the translations of these verses, and then we can read the commentary and everything tomorrow. Right? Let me just see, actually, would that really screw up? I prepared all the readings. Okay, I think it will work. Yeah. All right. So I'm just reading the translations. We read up to what? Verse 54. A detached householder, after deeply considering his situation, should give up all pride and attachment and remain at home just like a guest. By doing so, he will never become entangled by domestic affairs. A householder devotee who faithfully worships me by the performance of his duties can reside at home or at a holy place of pilgrimage. If he has a grown-up son and has given up all desires for material enjoyment, he can take sannyas. He can go directly from grahastha to sannyas without having to go through vanaprastha. However, a miserly householder who has strong desires to enjoy his money, lusty desires with his wife, and the association of his children, and thus thinks, "All of these are mine, I am the master of all I survey," is in the densest darkness of ignorance. Alas, how will my elderly parents continue to live? Without my protection, my poor wife with her small children will suffer terribly. How can my poor family live without me? Thus, as a result of his foolish mentality, that's kind of harsh, a householder whose heart is overwhelmed by family attachment remains in anxiety. While constantly meditating on his family, he dies and enters the darkness of ignorance. So one should never think, how will my elderly parents continue to live? Forget it about your elderly parents. And how will my poor wife with her small children? They'll suffer terribly. Who cares about their wife and children? How can my poor family live without me? They'll figure it out. Yeah, this can definitely be misinterpreted. All right. We'll read the commentary. We'll get clarification on that tomorrow when we read the commentary. All right. So, I am... I'm now going to... I'll do Jaidvani, and then I will sing the Keshav Ashtakam for anybody who wants to stay for that. Jai Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishimar Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nugakoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachaya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaurava Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Uddhava-gīta Ki Jai. Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur Sārārtha-darśinī ki jai, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Gauḍīya Bhāṣya ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All right, give me one second. I'm just gonna get Mridanga from up there. Okay. Let's see if I can use this cup as a mic holder, mic stand. There. Yeah, it works. Okay. It actually works really well. Okay. Let me share my screen. Where are we? Shri Keshavashtakam by Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī. Nava Priya Kamanjari Rachita Karnapura Shriyam Vinidrattara Malati Kalita Shekare Nojvalam Tarojvasita Yuthika Kratita Valguvai Kakshakam Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam Pishangi Manikastani Pranata Shringi Pinge Kshane Mridanga Mukhi Dhumale Shabali Hangsi Vangshi Priye Iti Sasura Bhikula Taralama Vayanta Muda Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam Ghana Pranayame Turan Madhura Narma Goshti Kala Vilasa Nilaya Nilay Vivida Vesha Vidyotinan Sakina Kila Saraya Patishuha Sayantan Gira Braje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam Shamambu Kanika Vali Dharavili Dagandantara Samura Giri Dhatuvi Vikita Charupantram Pura Udancharali Mandali Dyuti Vidam Vivakralaka Braje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam Nipadanavatarnaka Vali Vilokanodkhantaya Nathat Kura Putanchalai Alogubir Bhuvam Bindatin Kalena Dhavala Khata Lago Nirvartayantam Puro Braje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam Padankatati Virvaram Virachayantamadvashiyam Chalataralanaichiki Nichayadhuli dhumrasrajam Marullahari chanchale Kritadukula churanchalam Vraje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Vilasa murali kala Dhani birullasan manasa Shana rakila pallavi Pulakayantamantar grihe Muhur vidatatam hridi Pramuditancha goshteshwari Vraje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Upetya pati sundari Tati birabhiya Tati birabhirabhyarchita Smetankurakaram pitar Natarapanga bhangi shatai Stanastavaka sancharan Nayana chanchari kanchalam Vraje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Idam nikila pallavi Kula mahotsavolasana Gramena kilaya puman Patati shushtupadyashtakam Tamojvaladhiyam sada Nijapadaravinda-dvaye Ratim dadadachanchalam Sukayatar vishaka sakha Bhaje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Bhaje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Vraje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Vraje vijayinam bhaje Vipinadeshata keshavam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Jaya Keshav-dev Jaya Keshav-dev Keshav-dev Jaya Keshav-dev Jaya Keshav-dev 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 Jaya Keshav Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Jai, Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. I didn't do Apa Pranam before, did I? Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranam to everybody. Alright, so what are the tithis coming up? Tomorrow is Janu Saptami and Janavi Puja. And 3 days from now is the appearance day of Janava Devi and Sita Devi, and also the disappearance day of Shri Madhu Pandit. Mohini Akadashi will be in 5 days from now. Nrsimha Chaturdashi will be in 8 days. And the appearance day of Shri Madhavendra Puripad and Srinivasacharya will be, and also the disappearance day of Shri Parameshwari Ṭhākura, that will all be in 9 days from now. It's also Purnima day. Alright. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Hari Bol, Rohit Radha Krishna Ji, and everybody else watching Dandavat Pranams.